Yo guys, welcome back to another game analysis. Now, there is really a lot to talk about with this one, so thank you very much for sending this one in. I appreciate that, and let's have a little look at it. So, yeah, we're playing as a Venice here, and the earliest save we have is from turn 77. So, yeah, here we are. We will go through this Venice stuff before we get into this. So, cannot create settlers or annex cities, trade route cap doubled, target restrictions removed. So that basically means you can send multiple trade routes to the same city, which normally you can't do. Normally you can only send one to each different city, international one. You can send as many internal ones if you want. As long as they're not the exact same, like same destination and same start place. A free merchant of Venice at trade. Puppets have minus 30% yield penalties. So that's a bit. So when it says that, it means 30% less than they normally have, which is 80%, I think. So they end up with 50% basically. I'm pretty sure. Can use gold and gain happiness like normal cities, but I think you only get the unhappiness from them being buffeted, so that's quite nice. Then these Merchant of Venices, so their replacement Great Merchant can construct the town, normal stuff, but they can also found buffeted cities, and which start with like extra buildings. And they can buy city-states as well, so they become your own buffeted city. Yeah, Colonia is the things they can found, additional territory, a market, and you can only have 3 of them at once. Okay, and then you get these like unique, so this is a replacement for the National Monument, but then it also allows you to build, like it doesn't really have that much more than a normal one with supply cap increase and no advanced actions by spies apparently, but yeah, it unlocks the further ones as well, so we should also take a look at them before we start. Where will they be? Okay, they're in this wonders thing, so I believe you need guilds to get them. You can get one of these. There's 3 options, you can take one of them. So unique building for Venice, great person improvements and villages, worked by all cities, gain +2 food and tourism, 2 great work of art slots. Okay. +5 science if themed. Alright. Then this one. Wait, no, that's not the one. This one. 15% production in the city. Increases military supply cap. Yep. And you get a unique promotion. So obviously that's going to be for war stuff. The Glassworks one is going to be for great people stuff, like I guess artistry, probably going for a tourism victory, that kind of thing. And then the last one, which is the Rialto district. Cost of gold purchases in all cities reduced by 10%. 1 additional delegate for every 100 gold per turn, capped at 25% of all city-states ever alive. And some extra bonuses to trade routes. So that's going to be going for a diplomatic victory, I guess. But you could maybe make some kind of industry, gold purchasing kind of plan if you have a lot of the Colonia things. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting civ, and you would assume normally you want to go for tradition, which we have done here, since you're going to have a lot of stuff going on in the capital. But yeah, let's see what you did. So, gone for tradition, we've built Stonehenge. Nice. Goddess of Beauty. Religion looks like it will come on turn 97-ish. Unfortunately, you also get half faith from your city-state, from your like buffeted city, so they don't really help too much. But yeah, that should be a good time to get the religion by. And obviously we've come in here as well. What are we researching? Fishing. And looks like we've got a bit in writing as well, so maybe you're thinking of going for the Great Library. I guess you want to go writing anyway to get this building, it is pretty good. And then, yeah, you do need guilds for the other ones. Also a lovely little ruin here, so you should probably get on that. Other than that, we've got sugar as our resource by the look of it. Only 3 of them are around though. And we've got Assyria very close, which is not a good sign at all. And okay, other people all the way over here. Man, that scout got a long way without being able to cross water. And yeah, this was our first colonial city. So it's doing quite well there. Okay, let's move on a bit. Okay, we're in turn 160 here. Now, what has gone down? Ah, this does not look too good. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, I suppose. They will struggle to get through the jungle and stuff, but yeah, no fun, no fun. That doesn't surprise me too much. And they've got some cities very close to the capital, which is not too fun either. This city up here and this one here that we've founded doesn't look like we've taken any city-states yet. Okay, 6 tradition, 1 statecraft. Okay. And we're going into machinery. I suppose it will be useful to have some crossbows here. But obviously you do want to be going for guilds generally, because that's where the powerful buildings are, isn't it? But yeah, we got a religion as well. So, faith, science and gold when you get a policy, and use faith to buy cathedrals. And it looks like you've been doing quite a lot of conversion around here as well. Still 3% more needed for that though. Okay. We're definitely working some interesting stuff here. And yeah, 1 in statecraft. Alright. Now let's get to the last save we have. Alright, here we are, turn 204. So yeah, we didn't die to Assyria, clearly, and we seem to be okay here. There's a random trireme, but war with Polynesia and Babylon. And okay, we're somewhere in the middle of the pack. 35 techs, Brazil 35. So we're there or thereabouts. We are quite behind on policies though. We're on 3 of statecraft. Soon to be 4. But China's already through artistry. And Polynesia's 5 in statecraft as well. Okay. So we built Stonehenge, Colossus, University of Sancor and Roman Forum. So I assume you will have built the glassworks thing. No, this one's the Rialto district, I believe, is what I'm expecting to see here. Yes, okay, so 1 delegate for every 100 gold per turn, so I assume we're getting 2 from that. I never actually used this one. and cheaper gold purchases. And it looks like, I mean, you've built like basically everything here, so I assume you've been using them. But we're not capped on trade routes. I guess Polynesia definitely could have been a reason for that. We don't seem to have any more cities as well. Cool. Alright, so let's see the message that came with this then. Okay, I gave Venice a well on a mortal large normal speed. I think it was Communitas map. Okay, the mods. I fell too far behind this game and lost an important city state just after I purchased it, which was huge, and so I lost. It was tough to keep cargo ships alive since the AI would declare war on me willy-nilly. Thanks to the underhanded Assyrians constantly bribing them, he thinks. Right. Not sure whereabouts the save is in the scheme of things, but 1000 AD is a nice round number. Here is a save game a little bit later, shortly before I gave up. Okay, well, the first thing that sticks out to me is this doesn't seem like a lost game. Like, maybe things have started going a bit worse than they were before with all the wars and stuff getting pillaged, but you know, it doesn't seem to be like an over game. You're in the mix on tech, if not policies, and I don't think you're in like existential danger of dying, even if Assyria did attack. But yeah, it's not going to be the most fun game to play because I don't know how you would ever deal with them and stop them from attacking you. Though they are, I mean, you're ahead of them on score, so all the buildings are done here. We could start building an army. So if you did want to try and win this game from here, what I would say is that you definitely want to start working more culture. We've got 3 things working here, but realistically we probably don't need this engineer right now. We could do at least this, and some of these tiles are not amazingly useful either. So you might want to do at least something like that, and you could even consider working the scientists as well. We're about to finish this diplomat, so we might as well let that finish. And yeah, if you can catch up on policies, or even just stay not too far behind, there's a lot of ways you can catch up later on. You're about to get this one, which is going to give you, yeah, it's going to give you plus 3% culture in the capital for every spy. Why do you only have 2 spies? This is a large map, no? I guess a lot of the city-states have been eaten or something? I don't know, that's weird. I would have expected you to get more. I thought you got like more than 1 spy on larger maps because there's more city-states, but I guess if we're down to 16 anyway, then that's the standard amount. So okay, well anyway, it's going to give you a bit of extra stuff. We're allied with 3 city-states. It looks like we're not far away from some more. You'd probably want to try and get that mission there, 500 science and an alliance. So you probably would be better off sending the spy over to Morocco. We got a free tech coming in 11 turns. One thing to bear in mind is that the only tech that they have that you don't have is actually acoustics, and you can see that by seeing that it costs slightly less than all the other ones. So I would recommend going for chemistry instead, especially since I assume you're kind of going here to get Summer Palace, but you don't have the cultures anyway, the policies anyway, whereas Leaning Tower of Pisa, no one else has this tech, and you're about to have the policies to be actually able to build it, and it's a pretty good wonder, of course. And also you wouldn't ruin your steel here, because if you research this tech, that spy is gonna stop stealing because he's gonna say there's nothing from this to steal. So yeah, there's not really much point in going acoustics right now, when you could go chemistry instead. But obviously it would have been good to just not have researched this in the first place. We could have had chemistry when we were getting the next tech, and then we could have stolen this full tech rather than the bit of it that we would steal instead. Like I said, you're about to finish off everything here, so you could start making an army to actually like take, for example, this city or something, perhaps. I mean, you have nothing else to build really apart from trade routes and envoys, which it might not be the best time to start spamming them out, especially if you're not like safe. We still have not got to Reformation belief of 2% off, so I would just use this profit. It seems like you've been spending a lot on missionaries trying to get the Reformation belief, which I understand, but it didn't quite happen, so I think you're better off just using this profit now. Particularly, I suppose, try and convert some of the city-states if you can. And yeah, then you'll get a Reformation belief, and I did check which ones were left, and there is still the Inspired Works one and To the Glory of God that are both very good ones. I've kind of been going with To the Glory of God recently, actually. Allows you to buy like great writers and stuff that will help you catch up with the culture, especially once the World Fair gets suggested here. You are the host of this, so not too bad. World Religion I don't think is going to do that much for you. I guess there's not anything else that useful, and you might actually be able to get it now. Last patch I would have said nah, but I managed to get it in my Game as Austria without actually too much people nailing it, so you might get that. I don't know how much it would do for you, because I assume you're going to be going for the diplomatic victory. It will get you an extra delegate, I guess. If you can find some silver from someone as well. So it's not over, but I understand you feeling like you lost the city-state, which was Wellington, apparently. I guess it got liberated. Oh shit, we even have this guy. Oh, you were about to buy it and then you lost it. Okay, well, yeah. So that's what I've got to say about continuing the game. Now, let us talk about some things that I would have said should probably have been done differently in this game. So, as I've mentioned, you are behind on culture, and I don't really see much of a reason for that to be the case by this much. Yeah. When you're playing as tradition, you generally will want to be working these slots pretty much all the time, honestly. Maybe occasionally, like these are kind of the next best ones to work, and then occasionally you'll work one of these to get one of the merchant or engineer or civil servant. I mean, obviously you wanted more great merchants because they are better as Venice, but yeah, I still think that working the culture would be better. The merchants, it's not really a big deal like getting them as quickly as possible, because it's not like each city you get is going to give you that much. Like, probably better off just getting them when you actually want them at like strategic times. So if you're like, oh, I really need a city here, or I really need to buy this city state, then you'd go full into the merchants. If we go back to your turn 160 save, we can see that here you were working the 2 merchant slots here and none of these, and a lot of also kind of useless sea tiles, so it's not really a surprise that we ended up so far behind on culture. Like at this point you were a little bit behind, but it's definitely got worse and worse as the game has gone on. Probably you wouldn't have been this behind as well if you've been working them from before, especially because you did go for the statecraft policy, which it doesn't really give you a lot of culture. Like this is kind of the only culture you actually get. Not a great deal. So yeah, it makes especially much sense to be working the culture specialist, because statecraft does actually give you some science, like more science than it does culture, so you generally won't fall behind as much on that. Now these great person improvements, I mean this is another thing I would say quite generally for tradition, is that you do want to be putting your great person improvements on top of your resources. So as we can see here, we've got these sugar tiles here that could have had a great person improvement on them. Then we've got the great person improvement tiles, and it's kind of just ended up being too much for the city to work. I mean, if you did something like this, it wouldn't be too bad. Like, you could be working all of these instead. But generally, I would put a couple of them on the resources, and then if you find that you do actually have pops spare that you could work another tile, then you can put them on the other squares. But like a lot of the time as tradition, there's just too much stuff you want to work, so you don't really have enough pop to work resource tiles and great person improvements and specialist slots, because ideally you would honestly want to be working most of these most of the time. That is like the strength of tradition. And this sugar plantation that you have here is getting you, okay, it's kind of fairly near the top, so +1 food, +1 gold, and then you're probably getting +1 production from having a herbalist as well. So +1 food, +1 production, +1 gold, compared to like if you had a great person improvement on it, you'd still be getting the bonus from the sugar, and you'd be getting the great person improvement, and you could be working a specialist as well, which generally does work out as better. And you could also do some internal trade routes to give yourself some more food, which is not being done right now. You are sending production though. Fair enough. Probably you want to have gotten the baths by this point as well. Baths give +4 culture as well as 10% culture in Golden Ages, which is pretty good. And if you have events on, there's a really good event you can get for having a bath as well. Basically gives you like a free great person, I assume is what you would take in this case. Alright, and I'm not sure, maybe this was just like bad timing of the save or whatever, but you should never really be working like these tiles in a tradition capital. Like, you should only be working the best possible tiles, or the great person slots really. Like, obviously it is good to have food so that you can grow your city, but like just having, you can't really be working this many tiles that are basically just giving you food, because all food really does is allow you to get more pop, right? Or population. But if you think about it, if we stop working these tiles and start working useful things, we've basically just gained like 4 pop instantly. So, because instead of getting like pretty much nothing apart from food, we're just getting straight into the things that we would have been working with the extra pop anyway. And back on the turn 204 save, we can see that the fact that you haven't put the great person improvements on top of resource tiles has started to become a problem here, because you're not able to work all of the specialists that you want to, especially once you get the guild. There's really a lot that you do want to be working. I suppose you probably don't need to work this production anymore as well, since you're maxed out on production, so you could put some of them into specialists. Next thing to talk about is religion. So yeah, you went for the Pantheon, which makes a lot of sense on tradition civs to get the religion, founder belief, +5 faith, science and gold for every follower of your religion when you unlock a new policy. This is just generally not a very good belief compared to the other ones. I don't know what it is, just like numerically weak because it doesn't scale with era like some of the other ones do. I don't know which ones were left when you chose this, but yeah, so I assume that this one tends to go first, which is one that you would quite like as tradition normally, although you didn't go artistry, so yeah, but the ones that I would recommend were still left, and that is either Way of Transcendence, which is the one that gives you bonus to all yields when you enter a new era, which scales with era. It just gives you a lot more, to be quite honest, and it gives you culture and like food and production as well, which is definitely good. And the other one is a Ceremonial Burial. This one also actually gives you quite a lot. I was using it in my Austria game, obviously where I had a lot of great people, but it was giving a ridiculous amount. And the faith actually does scale with era as well. So I'm pretty sure this one would have worked out as better, and it would have given you more culture, which is the thing you're struggling with in this game. So yeah, generally I'm just not a fan of that founder. I feel like some of the other ones are a bit better. Cathedrals and the money per follower, those don't make a huge amount of sense either. You know, cathedrals normally something you'd want with like a wide empire. Get the cathedrals everywhere. When you have a lot of farms and pastures and stuff, they give +1 gold to, I think, farms, pastures and quarries. But I mean, okay, so we've got the cathedral here, but it's only giving half yields anyway. Same with the other follower belief, and it only goes up to 10, so it's not really giving you like a big amount in the capital either. 1 cathedral and 1 gold thing. I suspect there were some better beliefs left as well. If you want buildings, I mean, I know I always say this, but orders are actually decent because you do get the bonus yields in all of your cities for killing units, and the extra defense as well. They're both useful, and probably a better follower belief than the +1 money, +1 gold per follower would be like asceticism or scholarship, the ones that give plus food or science, or maybe diligence, because they're generally better yields than gold, and you would probably get the full amount in your capital. There's also mastery, probably could be the best one here, because that would give you, it gives you +1 to your specialist yields, which probably would end up giving more, and +1 golden age point for each specialist as well. Enhancer, I don't really like this enhancer either, man. +1 gold and faith in the holy city for every 10 followers of this religion in foreign cities. I don't know how many of them we really have. It seems like we're getting about 7 gold per turn from that, and 10 from the follower belief, so and then plus 20% rewards from city-state quests. Oh, okay, it does give that. It doesn't. They don't have to be your religion. Okay, fair enough. fair enough. Yeah, that one actually could be okay then. I would still point out that symbolism is a very good belief right now. +2 great person points for all great people. Missionaries erode existing pressure. So if you'd gone for this and symbolism, that could have allowed you to actually get to your Reformation belief using missionaries, because they reduce the pressure of other religions. So it wouldn't matter too much if some of the cities had been converted, because you could actually convert them back. And +2 great person points for all great people is obviously nice. All the great people are useful this game, so. But yeah, I mean, plus 20% rewards from city-state quests. Unfortunately, I don't think any other city-states are following your religion. I mean, I'm guessing that AIs have been spreading their religions very aggressively, which can happen. And yeah, that's prevented you from getting the foreign cities converted that you wanted. It's a risky strategy to rely on that, especially like on being able to convert a lot of other cities, especially when none of your beliefs really give you that much faith. Like if you had the faith and culture when you use great people, you might have had enough faith to kind of actually be able to outspam the AIs in terms of missionaries. Or you could have taken prophecy, I guess. Nah, that doesn't really make sense. Also, if you were going to go for a lot of conversions, you could have tried the 2 beliefs that give you yields for conversions. The apolistic one, food and culture, when you convert cities, is actually a very good one. Founder belief as well. So that is the things with religion. And just to finish on religion, I would say don't go for Holy Land if you do get Reformation belief here. It's not going to give you as much as Glory of God or Inspired Works would, especially because you don't have a huge amount of land or holy sites, so you're not going to have that many landmarks or holy sites, and there aren't friendly city-states following your religion. Now, strategically, this is not great either. So, I think pretty early on it should have been quite clear that Assyria was always going to be an issue for you this game. Like, the capitals are so close. Assyria is quite a aggressive civ, and yeah, there was literally just always going to be war. So when you find yourself in that situation, you probably want to try and slow them down as much as possible at the start. And the best ways to do that is like stealing their workers, and especially trying to stop them settling new cities. They get a lot of bonuses when they settle new cities, so if you slow that down, you will really end up slowing them down a lot. In the Austria game that I'm also playing at the moment, I had an Iroquois right next to me in a similar kind of situation, like they were super close to me, and I stole one of their workers and stopped them settling city early on, and it literally meant for the whole game they were like way below where they would have been causing problems for me. So it made the rest of the game way easier, and it's not much of a sacrifice really. You can use your warrior that you have at the start to just like kind of hang around them, and if you see a worker that you can steal, then just get in there and take it and try and get out. And if you're at war with them, they won't want to be sending cities towards you as well. Next thing to mention about that is that this city was quite a crucial one for you in terms of making your game easier. If you had your own city here or here, that would have really stopped Assyria from being able to actually do a lot to you. Like, this city here is quite useful as well, actually, and it's put in a good place because it's only got one sea tile, but a city here really would have made you feel a lot more secure, and probably would have meant they didn't settle here as well, and you could have done that if you wanted. And then you could have taken Sydney as well, for yourself, without too much fear of it being undefendable. So I believe instead of that, we built a city on the Lake Victoria, which isn't really giving that much. I mean, we're getting half yield, so Lake Victoria is giving us 1 science. But this city, I think, was very important. So that, I think, is definitely something that would have helped a lot. And I guess this can be a general thing about playing Venice. So I honestly think Venice is like a pretty good civ to play right now, but you do need to play it like properly, and there's definitely a lot of mistakes that are easy to make. I mean, I made them a lot of times as well, and probably the main one is something like this, of not settling a city here, because that is what your colonias are really for. Like, that's kind of your number one goal with them, is settle cities around your capital that are going to keep it safe. And that should literally be the number one priority. And after that, you can start thinking about stuff like getting monopolies and resources, or, you know, natural wonder, maybe if it was like a Kilimanjaro or a Fountain of Youth that give the global bonuses. But something like that is not really that useful, because you only get half yields. And then once you've got a couple of cities out, then you could start taking some city-states that either are like a hostile to you, so you don't want to be at war with them, or ones that are just near to you that you can actually look after. They also, when you take a city-state, you will get a big amount of units as well. Like, normally they have quite a few melee units, so that can be nice. But first you want to get the colonias out so that your position is kind of safe. And maybe you could have still come and put the city here, or on the hill or something, to defend from the ocean. Stop boats being able to get in here easily. And this one seems very far out, and not necessary as well, compared to having one here. I would say generally, statecraft is maybe not as good as it might seem for like peaceful playthroughs, like peaceful tradition playthroughs, because generally when you're tradition you don't want to be having to build up a big army, but statecraft is honestly, like, and going for Diplo victory, it's honestly a lot easier if you actually do have an army. Like, there's going to be situations of, you know, city-states getting killed by people and you needing to protect them, and having vassals really helps you a lot as well. So I would honestly say statecraft is much better when you're like authority or progress. Like, it can be done with tradition, but it's a very annoying game to try and play because everyone ends up hating you, so you end up needing a big army anyway to defend yourself, and, you know, people trying to sanction you because they don't like you because you're stealing their city-states and that kind of stuff. I mean, you do get the big bonuses with it because you're Venice, so you have the special building giving you delegates, and it does give the extra trade route, but so maybe it is still the best, but it's not always the best, especially in like peaceful situations where you're trying to play peacefully. Also, as Venice, you do want to be eating city-states with your Merchant of Venices probably, so that kind of like counteracts the point of having statecraft. I suppose you can use them to eat other people's city-states, but generally, if you can't really just go around the world or I should say buying them, you can't really just go around the world doing that because you'll just end up losing them. So it's not like a great long-term strategy. Maybe you can do 1 or 2 towards the end, but unless you have a huge navy, they're going to be lost anyway. And some other specific Venice things that are just might be useful to know for people who have not played Venice is that pyramids, instead of a free settler, actually gives you a free merchant of Venice, which is a good way of getting your game started. You could go mining, build pyramids, and then up to trade for the next great merchant of Venice, and that's 2 free merchant of Venices right there. I understand wanting to go Stonehenge so that you can get a religion, because pyramids isn't as good for getting your religion. You probably still would have got it on this patch with pyramids. I don't actually think you need a religion to win this Venice though, to be honest. Insta yields from puppets do actually give full amounts, as I mentioned earlier, so that means if you go orders, there's some other beliefs like cooperation, I think, gives yields when a city grows. Industry, this one, science when you construct a building, and culture when you construct a building here, you actually get the full yields of them when the things get built in puppeted cities. I don't know that makes, progress worth getting, but maybe the cooperation belief definitely could be. Definitely worth thinking about. The puppets population do count towards national wonders, which actually makes them one of the best civs for getting those national wonders earlier on. These cities will generally be a lot bigger than your second cities would be in a tradition game normally, so you generally will be able to get to the population requirements easier than other civs, which is nice. And puppets can also make great people, and I believe you actually saw this because in the turn 77 city we have here, you actually have Heraclea building a great merchant here in 13 turns, so I assume you would have got one from that. It's definitely worth bearing in mind, you probably don't they really like working the markets in these cities, so if you just don't even bother building merchants, you will actually end up getting some from your puppeted cities anyway. So yeah, sorry if that was just a bit of a word soup there. I did have a lot to say about that, and I hope I was clear with what I said. Main thing, as always, is just work as much culture as you can when playing tradition. I think that could go a lot of ways to helping people in their games, and be aware of your surroundings. It's not really a surprise any surprise at all that you ended up having annoying wars with Assyria, so better to just bite the bullet and try and deal with them earlier on rather than just hoping that it won't be a problem, because it definitely will. So yeah guys, hope that was useful, and thanks again for sending this in. And I may even do a video on, I guess I might do a video on playing as tradition actually, because I feel like I keep seeing the same mistakes over and over again, so it might be good to have a proper guide on it. And make sure you do send me your games if you do want me to take a look at them as well. Link will be in the description, and I will see you soon guys.